My name is Francis Lundes.
I'm Samantha Mira.
And my name is Benjamin Cruz, and this is our presentation against the zoos.
The history of zoos. The first zoos were collections of wild animals by the wealthy to show their power and were called menageries. And to the right is a picture of what a zoo looked like back then when they were called menageries. Ancient records are evidence that rulers and aristocrats had formed menageries since at least 2500 BC. The idea of a public modern zoo became popular during the Age of Enlightenment in the 18th century, when science was becoming more and more important. The goal was to use the zoos for scientific research. The first modern zoo was opened in 1793 in Paris, France. Ethics in zoos. Many people are opposed to zoos because they believe that animals have the right to liberty, so zoos are inherently wrong. Others believe that the cons to keeping animals in captivity outweigh the pros, that zoos diminish the animals' quality of life, and their use for entertainment does not justify their captivity. They also believe that the amount of captive breeding is not valuable enough to continue keeping animals in zoos. Current events. The most widespread current event involving zoos was on May 28, 2016, when Harambe was killed in the Cincinnati Zoo. The incident was filmed and uploaded online by a bystander where it went viral. Before this event became the focus of a joke, it created controversy, questioning whether primates should be held in captivity at all. Primatologists Jane Goodall and Frans de Waal both agreed that this was the best course of action since the child could have been killed. However, that brings into question if zoos are the safest place to keep animals, since children falling into enclosures, putting both the child and animal at risk, is not uncommon. And here's a video of Harambe at the Cincinnati Zoo before he was shot.
Mommy's right here! No! No! Hey, somebody call this dude!
Hey! Oh my god, I don't know how to go. Hey! Come here.
Okay.
Mommy's right here!
Please come. Oh my god!
Isaiah?
Everybody back up. I think he's trying to switch.
Okay. Mommy loves you. I'm right here.
The AZA, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, is an organization whose mission is to provide its members with the services, high standards, best practices, and program coordination to be leaders in animal welfare, public engagement, and the conservation of species. However, even though they are creating standards, the controversial SeaWorld is one of its accredited facilities, which creates doubt on whether all of their accredited facilities are taking care of their animals.
A life without freedom. Zoos often cause great suffering and stress to animals being held captive. They are caged for life and deprived of the opportunity to control their own lives. Animals such as lions, tigers, and elephants, who normally travel great distances with large packs, spend their days bored and with no more than a handful of others. These animals develop stereotypic symptoms, zoochosis, such as pacing back and forth, swaying side to side, eating their own feces, and self-mutilation. Here you can see that orcas are supposed to swim 100 miles per day, but instead they are confined to the equivalent of a bathtub for our entertainment at SeaWorld. Here we will be looking at more causes of zoochosis and more examples. Zoochosis is caused by separation from the natural habitat, loss of life in normal social groups, enforced idleness, drugs and medical fertility control, direct control by humans, and caging, a totally alien environment. More examples will be bar biting, neck twisting, tongue playing, excessive grooming, head bobbing, coprophagia, swaying, pacing, circling, excessive grooming, vomiting, and self-mutilation. Here is a video of a polar bear who appears to have zoochosis at the Toronto Zoo. In the video, you can see the polar bear sway back and forth in front of a door, and this is disturbing to know that an adult female recently rejected all her triplets by trying to injure them at the Toronto Zoo. The zoo managed to save one of the cubs from the mother, but the rest were killed, and this is because of the closest, which the animals are not used to being caged, so it affects them and their measuring skills.
Hayır oraya girmek yok. Ben oradan girmem. Ayşe ayakkabıları doğru kenara. Ben buraya gelir misin? Ayşe de gitmek istiyor. Ayşe çok akıllı değilsin sen Allah aşkına ya. Hadi bak diğerler varmış arkada, gittiler varmış anneciğim oraya gidelim.
Okay, and educational purposes. Zoos use the claim that they are used for educational purposes, but zoos do not teach children about the natural attributes of animals. On the contrary, zoos provide a distorted image and teach them how animals should not be living. In 2014, Eric Jensen, a sociologist at the University of Warwick, published a study in the journal Conservation Biology that surveyed 3,000 children before and after a zoo visit and found only 1/3 had a positive learning experience. About 50% of the kids picked up incorrect information. Children learn how animals behave in captivity, not in their natural habitat. Therefore, they are not learning the correct behavior of the animals they are seeing. And here on the left side, you can see a chart of the children who learned and didn't learn something new. Only 38% learned, while 62% remained the same or learned incorrect information. Dangers of captive animals. There have been multiple reports of animals attacking zoo visitors. In 2007, a tiger left a 17-year-old boy dead and 2 people severely injured after the tiger scaled the wall and jumped them out. Here on the right, you can see another example of a 19-year-old who was mauled to death by a tiger. This individual was able to climb the gate and jump down a knee-high concrete wall. The tiger was able to mock the youth until the tiger mauled the youth once onlookers and some zoo staff tried to divert the attention of the tiger by throwing stones and sticks, making noises. That's when the tiger pounced and attacked the child. Another way that this is dangerous is that the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention warns that wild animals kept in captivity can spread diseases to humans. Monkeys can spread all sorts of diseases such as herpes, B virus, and tuberculosis, which is not harmful to them but can be very harmful to humans.
Rescues. As we all know, zoos are portrayed as more of an entertainment area instead of conservation. And since this, zoos often have a quote-unquote surplus of animals due to overbreeding and because of popular animals and having extra of unpopular animals that they want to get rid of. These animals would usually be sold, bought, or traded depending on how popular those animals are or how necessary they are for the zoo. The range of buyers can include other zoos, taxidermists, exotic animal owners, and game reserves. And if they don't get bought out, kind of like a animal rescue, they'll get euthanized at the zoo just to keep their animal population to a minimum. On the left is a zoo veterinarian holding up the hoof of one of the giraffes that was euthanized at a zoo in the UK after they determined that giraffe was no longer profitable for that zoo. On the top left, you can see the same giraffe described in the last photo being fed to the zoos in that same zoo on February 9th, 2014. The one to the right is donkeys died as zebras because they were supposed to bring more profit to the zoo as a tourist attraction for the kids. On the farthest right is Michael the lion, who was found hanging in his cage after apparently getting his head stuck between steel cables in a zoo in Indonesia, which that zoo has always been heavily criticized for its treatment of animals and for years been wanting to close down. On the bottom is Arturo, the 28-year-old polar bear who is displaying abnormal behavior, which includes tilting his head, showing his teeth while pacing back and forth, rocking side to side, as what we discussed earlier as zoochosis. And then on the bottom left is a sun bear in a zoo in Indonesia, again, on January 18, 2017, which has been starving for the last year and was even begging the bystanders for food. Entertainment. We criticize SeaWorld and Ringling Brothers as animal cruelty since they keep their animals in small cages and they're used for entertainment. But the zoos are the same. They contain their animals in small cages and they all profit the other animals for the entertainment cause. And all three use the quote unquote conservation as a means to get more animals. But in the end of the day, these animals aren't able to go back into the wild because they're so out of it that they're not able to go back in. So here's some better alternatives instead of going to zoos. You can go view your local wildlife in your local parks, visit animal sanctuaries or conservations where the animals are actually rescued, unlike zoos, who are, as we stated before, are bought and traded. For example, you could go to the local cat haven right here down by Kings Canyon. You could take a trip to the forest like Yosemite, and while you go hiking, you could see the local animals like deer and bears, while also looking at the flora and the waterfall. Or you could also take a vacation to go see the animals in their natural habitat. With this, you could take an African safari, go to tide pools, or go deep sea diving to go see the whales and dolphins. Or you can even volunteer at local animal rescues, like I am, where I'm seeing shy dogs getting rehabilitated to become normal dogs to have a happier life with their soon-to-be homes.
R.I.P. Harambe.
Rest in peace, Harambe.
Rest in peace, Harambe, and all the other animals lost to zoo cruelty. Thank you.
You will be missed.